6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.
Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going just fine. It's
Well, glad to hear it.
it's been sunny and nice today, and we're also under a winter weather warning. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's Idaho for you. It's a bitch.
Right?
It's a bitch.
Yeah, Idaho Spring Boy.
But
But
y'all
no,
know, if you listen
great.
to us, that we have to bitch about the weather at the beginning of every single show. It is a tradition. We are in season 6. We can't let it go now.
We have a lot to say about that.
We
I'm good
always do.
though, really super good. Very entertained to find a bunch of stuff about Robert Tejas today that I can't
Oh
wait to
yeah.
share.
Yeah, and actually, just want to say welcome to everyone in the chat.
Yeah.
Welcome, Linda. Linda says one of the only times I've been able to be in a live session. So grateful to have you all here, whether you're here live or after the fact on YouTube or
Yeah,
on one of the podcast apps or wherever you
for
are.
sure.
We
Want
love
to
you
shout
and we're
out
glad you're here.
Black and Missing Children in the chat too. I don't think I have seen you before, or if I have, I apologize, but want to welcome you
But
and all of you,
welcome.
of course. Yeah.
Welcome to all of you. But yeah, I think we ought to kick it right off
I do have a
with,
tiny bit of show and tell.
oh, well, please
I have
go
2 new
ahead.
pieces that I just finished. I don't even have hardware on them yet, and I put them away because I'm going to hardware everything at once, I think. But because I'm doing a bunch of stuff to be ready for our show. But these
Mhm.
are a couple of sun catchers I just finished,
Ooh,
and
that
they're
is
so
beautiful.
pretty. They have the Florentine glass is so. It's my favorite thing. It's the glass that kind of looks like it has the flowers in it. Florentine glass is so
Yeah.
expensive and so gorgeous,
Ooh.
but like for a guy like me, it goes little pieces of it in bigger pieces because it's hard, also kind of hard to get, but at
Ah.
any rate, so I made 2. It kind of
Oh,
looks
it's
black, but it's
beautiful.
purple. You can see on one side of it, but it's clear purple
Ah.
in
Oh,
between the
wow.
Florentine pieces. But
That is beautiful.
anyway, I
Love it.
can't wait to see what they look like in the sunshine. They're going to sparkle
Ooh, gorgeous.
like crazy. So, anyhow, so today I took a break from glass because I have too many cuts on my fingers. But
Gotta heal up.
I'm healing up. Yeah. Yeah. So, I know I could wear gloves. It's hard to my fine motor skills are kind of crappy, and so it's hard to manage the tools and the glass and everything with gloves on. I've tried. Yesterday I tried wearing just like nitrile gloves to grind some glass, and I ground them right off my hands. So
I
I
don't think that's supposed to happen, but
I don't think
ow.
so. I clearly am very new. But anyway, some completed glass that I was proud of. So there you go.
Well, well, well. And Black and Missing Children says a new sub, so welcome. Really happy to have you here,
Wonderful.
as well as all the rest of you. And thank you for the compliments about my hair. Yes, I did get a new haircut last week.
Super cute.
If you notice, my eyelid is still slumped.
I think it's still a little better.
It is a little bit better.
Mhm.
Saw the doctor today. This is from migraine Botox. And he's like, well, I'll send you a prescription in, but I got to tell you, you might want to not take it because it might make your Botox stop working and your migraines to come back. So I'm like, so
Oh.
I have 2 choices, droopy eyelid or migraines. Neither choice is something that I would like to have. Damn it.
Well,
I
droopy
told him,
eyelid
I'm
it
like,
is. Yeah.
yeah, droopy eyelid it is. But I'm like, dude, I am a video podcaster. Damn it.
You can't be messing up my face. Though,
I
you're
know.
lucky that you wear glasses because it really does help. It covers
It
up a
does.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks much worse in person. And it's honestly really just annoying as hell because it
Mhm.
affects my vision. And my right eye is my weaker eye. And so my left eye is usually my good eye, but I've only got about half of it right now.
So you're
So
like prying it open so you can read?
yeah, or like trying to squint as much with my right eye as my left so that they match. Because I
Oh,
constantly
no.
feel like like my glasses are crooked or something. It's driving me crazy, but
Ugh.
whatever.
Well, you're
I will
almost a
choose.
weekend, so hopefully it
I
really
am
does
almost
look
a
better
weekend.
tonight, though.
He encouraged me to wait at least one more week, and if it's still this bad, then take the pills.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, damn it. Ooh,
Yeah.
Black and Missing Children say I got the dates piercing for my migraines several years ago. Haven't had them since. I gotta tell you, I tried the dates piercing in May last year, and it would not heal up.
No.
And the jewelry was messed up, too small or something, because it kept coming out. And I finally had to give up, and I was so mad because I did actually notice some improvement, and I'll probably go back and do it again. But I think my piercer didn't do a very good job.
Yeah, it might be worth trying it with just somewhere else. I mean, weren't we in Salt Lake when
Yeah,
you did that anyway?
Ogden. Yeah,
That's right. So you could just do it back here at
yeah.
home and find a good piercer here.
The Botox does help very much with my migraines. Yes,
Hmm.
yes, it helps a ton. And that's why I keep doing it and putting up with bullshit like this eyelid. Oh, Ashley says her cat Maya wants to be on the show like my Sandy. Sandy would not come in today,
Nope.
but BB is in here, but I don't know if I'll get her up here so you can see her because she's still a bratty teenager. As you know, she's one of my Persian kittens. They're at the age right now where they're way too good for me. So we'll see. But anyway, let's get
Cats,
going
man.
and let's have a pretty good giggle here. Katie, I thought you could kick us off with some
Oh, good Lord.
Robert Tejas news, or shall we call him Megamind, Boss Baby? I don't even know.
There's a lot
Somebody
of
else.
I didn't bring a
There's a
picture of him.
lot.
Can you believe that? I should have. Hold
I will
on.
get one. I'll
Okay,
get
you
you one
get
while you're
one.
talking.
What a yeah. What a missed opportunity.
Oh my goodness, this
And
guy.
I'm gonna be we don't make a habit on this show of making fun of people's appearance, but we have made an
No,
exception for Robert Tejas because he murdered Jeff German and is a
he
complete
did quite a
jackass. And
lot.
so I'm sorry, Robert, but you get the exception card due to the fact that you are on the top of the FOS list. That's what happens.
Well, also, there are some guys that look great bald,
Hmm.
and then there's Robert
Oh
Tejas.
yeah, a lot of men can really rock that, but Robert, no, no,
They
no,
really
no.
can, but no, this is a choice. This is a
Yeah.
choice. So I will be bringing a photo of him up for you all so that you may recall what this dum dum looks like. Here you go.
That's a good one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, as you know, he was convicted of murdering Las Vegas reporter Jeff German in
Yes.
retaliation for German writing some stories about him that he didn't like. Uh,
That were 100% true.
that were 100% true, that had to
Oh,
do with he's an attorney that worked he was an elected official that worked, I think, in city planning,
yeah.
something
Well,
like
he
that.
worked in, no, he worked in, uh, like when people die and they leave like all the property and stuff and they don't have
A next
they
of
don't have an
kin.
heir,
Yes,
then they had to figure out who that would belong to.
that's right. I can't remember what the title is, but at
I
any rate,
know
that's
there's it's something.
what he was doing. And some women from his office approached Jeff German and said, this guy is awful, and he's clearly having an affair with one of our coworkers, and he is made this a very toxic and hostile workplace. It has been kind of a bad deal. Probate. Thank you, Jamie. Uh,
Yes, probate.
so we know that Jeff German wrote some stories about him. Jeff German had written about the mob in Vegas. He'd written about all all different kinds of politicians and all kinds of things. Like he was an investigative journalist, and he did not care who he pissed off, but he really pissed off Tejas. And
Mm,
as we know, Tejas came to his home, stabbed him in his yard, and
yes.
we also know that he had that funny walk that was later revealed to be the fact that he wears lifts in his shoes. Okay, Robert. Well, at any rate.
Here's another great one of him.
Oh, that's my fave right there. Yeah. And as you most maybe know, in his trial, he chose to uh, he chose
Give
to
a
speak on his
narrative.
own behalf. Yes, to do the narrative thing, which was jaw dropping. And his attorneys really, really, really didn't want him to do it. He and his attorneys were seriously at odds, his public defender. And it created, well, nonstop entertainment over here. But it was really bad for his case because, well, he's terrible. So, at any rate, some things came up about him that I had just recently found that I thought you guys would find interesting. First and foremost, his wife divorced him back in December.
Good
Remember
job,
her
lady.
that got on the stand during sentencing and was like, he's a really super duper good dad and
Hmm.
all of that? Yeah. She ran straight to the courts to divorce him. So good job, Mama.
Yeah.
And keep those kids safe from this fool. He is sentenced to 28 years in prison at this point. So then he has applied for a new trial. Of course, he's appealing, but he doesn't want his attorney, which is fine because he doesn't have his attorney. You know how? So when he first was arrested, he was actually he had attorneys, then he fired them, then he was representing himself, then he fired them, then he started with a public defender, and then the courts were like, "Dude, you have multiple houses. You can't have a public defender." And then he ended up with a public defender. Oh, she is so mad.
She's so mad. That's BB for anyone asking. That of my kittens, that's BB. She decided she was purring and bawling like that at the same time. That's her thing. That's what I mean by a bratty teenager.
Hold me and I hate you. Yes.
Yeah.
So he filed an appeal in November. And again, as you know, he is an attorney. He's just not a criminal law attorney. And when he was representing himself, he made a lot of mistakes. So here's what appears to be perhaps another one. A notice of appeal was filed with the Nevada Supreme Court in November, but in a handwritten note filed with the Clark County District or Court District, he argued that his public defender failed to keep him reasonably informed and promptly comply with reasonable requests for information. That attorney applied to leave his case the moment he was sentenced, clear back in October.
Yeah. Like
he says he hasn't gotten a
almost at the
response
same
since
time.
October 16th. That's because he withdrew from you, Rob. You
He
should
said,
know that.
Don't call us. We won't call you.
You made us look like the biggest jackasses in the world. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He also said in his note, defendant has absolutely no faith in the Clark County Public Defender, and there is no hope of resolving the concern. You know, his attorney's like, yeah, they're his former attorneys like, there sure isn't.
Correct.
Definitely, no, there's not. So, hold on, that's the wrong thing. So then, the other thing that just cracked me up. So there's no ruling on that yet. He'll have to be assigned, and I don't know why he hasn't been. He should be assigned an appellate public defender, and he will at some point. But of course, he has a lot of big concerns. But one of the things that happened in trial that we were all pretty bummed about, there was a moment in time where they were going to be sharing some of the communications between him and the office employee, Roberta, that he was having an affair with. And then those were withdrawn. Well, our friends over at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, who, you know, were the people that Jeff German worked for and were his friends and longtime colleagues, they have stayed on the ass of this case, which you would expect them to. Yeah. And they have managed to procure those conversations. Because,
oh dear God,
as we know, those conversations were happening through their email accounts that were a part of public property. Those were through their jobs.
So they were so stupid.
There's no expectation of privacy there.
No.
And because of that, those can be FOIA'd. And also just because of the case, but particularly because of that, they couldn't expect any kind of confidentiality communicating that way. But
no,
it's what they did for 2 straight years. One of the things that got me is that this affair seems to have started, at least from what was published from the review, in 2020. And the murder happened in September of 2022. Now, the communications that they published ended in the spring So there wasn't any like breakup text or anything. So I don't know if I'm not sure exactly what happened or when they stopped talking. What I have for you is just kind of jumbled up, but I've just picked a handful that I thought were interesting and entertaining, because he was still trying to maintain at that trial that they were just friends and didn't have an affair, which was just a flat lie. I have redacted her name. Also, her responses were redacted from the state. So we don't have those. We just have what he's saying, which
Oh, no.
is enough. So I will present to you a little slideshow I made called Robert Tejas is a Jackass.
Hmm.
Well, if your heart is telling you to leave me, then all I can do is lament I am losing you. Trust me, the thought of you leaving makes me ache.
Oh, my God. I can just see the eyebrows working up and down while he's writing this, can't you?
100% yes. I think that is a good plan. I think the sooner you do that, the sooner they will see that you are over them. This is about the office. A lot of their conversation is about the office drama.
Oh, yes.
Lots of emails where he's apologizing because she's mad at him for being nice to these women.
Oh, boy.
Maybe then they will come crawling. In any case, hopefully it won't matter at that point because you can take it or leave it when the time comes. This morning I was thinking of how grateful I am to find someone like me. I thought this one was so funny.
Wow, that is quite a typo.
That's quite the slip there, Rob. I think that's how you feel about yourself in pretty much
Yeah,
every circle.
pretty
So,
much.
yes. I'm going to read that sentence again just because I loved it. Uh, this morning I was thinking about how grateful I am to find someone like me. I know I don't appear to be like you, but I am very much someone who believes that good should be done for the sake of doing it. I have always tried my best to defend others who cannot defend themselves. I used to give my heart and trust to people first, but it has been a long time since I ran into anyone who was worth of that. Then I found you. Remember, he was married with children, and
Yes.
according to his wife, happily married with children at this time. Also, uh, are you sure, Rob? Because you stabbed Jeff Gehrman many times. I don't
Yeah.
know. Might be a
You
little
ignorant
disingenuous.
asshole. Yeah.
Ah, yes. I do believe we are soulmates in some way. I think you know the answer about what I will do for you. I will always do everything in my power to do right by you. You deserve that. I will never turn on you. You have no idea how much I feel connected to you. I know your intentions and I know your heart. I will protect that with everything I have got. Just
Will you,
ick.
though? Will you?
I'm this one made me laugh super hard. I'm a little bummed that you called me chicken. I am too, Roberta. Why didn't you call him Megamind or Boss Baby? Or there's a lot of things you could have called him. I
Yeah.
have done a lot to change this office. It has come a long way. That has come from making a lot of hard decisions and looking people in the eye. I guess I am most bothered by the idea that you potentially think I am weak. It bothers me because I want you to see me as someone strong and tall. That's the lifts. Just because
Yeah.
you and I don't agree about Janie doesn't mean I am weak. You are seeing it from a different viewpoint than I am.
Oh, my
Okay,
God.
honey. Okay, bud.
Hmm.
If we were truly the last two people on Earth, we might drive each other a little crazy with our passion. Oh my God.
Oh,
Did Chad Daybell
gross.
write this?
Right?
But I think we would
Maybe
find a
Fabio
way.
should be reading this.
He should. Oh, get here. I think we should find a way to repopulate the Earth before we killed each other.
Oh.
No! No! LOL. It would definitely get passionate in more than one way. Right? Chad Daybell
Oh,
wrote this. You cannot
brain
convince me
bleach. I need
otherwise.
the brain bleach. You.
You have a right to any feelings you want. I knew it was a lot. I regret saying much of it because of how much it hurt you. I wish we could just run away together. I wish we could just run away together. I'm sorry I said much of what I did. While I really felt the way I did, I never wanted to hurt you. I know I can't take it back. Seems like they had a lot of little lovers' quarrels.
I'm sorry, except I am not sorry. That's what that said.
Yep. I'm sorry you didn't like it, but I'm not sorry I said it. I'm sorry I failed you. I figured you were done with me, and it has hit me hard. I am being selfish once again. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I feel horrible and I don't know what to say. I wish I had been able to show you how much I wanted to support you and be there for you. I failed miserably. Okay, Rob, finally something we can agree about.
Right.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, in every way.
Mm-hmm.
In being a human, you failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I read it so you guys had to too. So there you go. That those are a part of the tales of Rob and Roberta. And ew.
God. Ew, ew, ew.
Irene said her lips are deflated.
Right. Oh, no. I feel for this woman. I hope that she's moved on and, well, gotten a whole lot of better situation in her life.
I think
'Cause,
this muffed up her life
boy,
pretty good as well. But
yeah, I think it did.
so we'll see. I mean, at some point, the state really does have to give him an appellate attorney, and he'll get an appeal. Not really. There's no way he's
Also,
getting much of any kind of appeal. The judge
no,
was so careful, and frankly, the prosecutors were so careful too to protect the
they
trial
were.
from him and all of his nonsense.
And I mean, plenty of it was just what he said during his narrative testimony, like
Hmm.
absolutely sunk his ship as he began to add, well, pretty much anyone in the state of Nevada to the list of conspirators who killed Jeff Garriman and then framed him for it, which seemed,
Yep.
also much simpler than just he did it, like we all know he did.
He
Like,
blamed
wow,
everybody but Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, but
he
he just
really
didn't
did.
get it to them yet. He would have.
No, oh my gosh, when he blamed
Because
the district attorney of Clark County. And then the district attorney of Clark County started attending the trial. That was the best.
it was pretty
The
good. Yeah.
best.
Yeah. I will say,
All
I mean,
righty.
if he were to get a new trial for some reason, man, I would be here for it 100%. But it won't happen, and I would hate that for Jeff Garriman's family. And also,
Yes,
it won't happen because
it
there
won't.
was
No,
nothing wrong with that trial.
no, there was not a thing. The only thing wrong with that trial is Robert Tejas, and he did that to himself. So
Yep. Yep. He
there
caused
you
every
go.
minute of it. Yep. So that's what I've got on Tejas.
Well, speaking of some rather good news about shitty people, let's talk about Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan. We talked about him last week that these assholes had returned to the United States from Romania. Now, we know they are under investigation in Romania for human trafficking. They're also under investigation in the UK for human trafficking. And guess what? Now they're under investigation in Florida for human trafficking. So if you recall, they returned to Florida last week, all triumphant, as
Hmm.
though, they were really doing something, I guess, when Romania
Hmm.
lifted the travel restriction on them while they were being investigated. And as we know, someone within our ridiculous government actually facilitated that and brought
Hmm.
these idiots back.
Yep.
So they
Much
came
to
back.
the shock and disdain of the governor of Florida, who was like, I
I
don't want
know.
that filth over here. No.
The only time I've ever agreed with Governor Ron DeSantis in my whole life is when he said,
Right?
I don't
There it
want these
was.
people in my state. But here's the thing, they're suing a woman for libel or something in Florida for accusing them of trafficking her, raping her, and sex trafficking her.
Yeah.
So they came back to Florida. So you know what Florida did? Well, they decided to open an investigation on the Tate brothers to see if by chance they had raped and trafficked this woman who has accused them of said crime.
Hmm.
And they were outside the US and they couldn't really do anything about it until, they came back to Florida. Also, good news, this is a state case, not a federal case. And
Yep.
Governor Ron DeSantis has already made it clear he does not want any of these idiots in his state.
Hmm.
Shocking. I'm honestly shocked that he doesn't. But anyway, so our Führer
Here
in
we are.
chief will not be allowed to pardon them because this is a state case and not a federal case. So they are
Right.
now under investigation. They have issued search warrants, and they are the state of Florida is investigating this crime that this woman is being sued for alleging that they committed. So, as we know, they have not been convicted of anything yet, but they are in fact under investigation, and that is great news for all of the women of Florida and the world.
It is. And while I find this funny as hell and very entertaining, I also want to say that these two have been accused of appalling, terrible, terrible things.
Yeah, they
And
have.
for
They
this
are
woman,
terrifying
first
people.
of all, thank you for standing in your power. Second of
Yes.
all, I really hope you get the justice you deserve. I really do.
Yes. I certainly hope that you do. Right. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying, is that maybe the Tates were the first to get those $5 million gold cards that apparently are available now that you
Oh, it
can.
could have been.
But you
Yeah.
know what? Actually, no, because they don't need them. They are dual citizens between the United States
Right.
and the UK.
In the
So they
UK.
wouldn't even have needed that.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just
they're
needed
citizens of the US.
someone uh someone to facilitate their release from Romania. Right, they have admitted to it on camera. They have. They're, if you
Oh.
know who the Tates are, hideous people.
Hmm.
So,
The
anyway,
self-proclaimed, basically, kings of misogyny. Yeah.
yeah, they are. And all I have to say about that is, wow, sucks to suck, buddies.
Definitely sucks to suck.
Yeah. Katie, you have an update for us in some deaths that happened in Kansas City last year.
Yeah, you guys remember those three guys that froze to death in the backyard of their friend, right? They
Yeah.
were at their friend's house so that they could watch the game. And then for 2 days, these guys never came back home and their families couldn't get a hold of them. The one guy's girlfriend went to the house where she knew he was going to be. His car was there. She pounded on the door. He didn't answer. She finally went in, found a dead body, called the police. The
Yeah.
police came, they knock on the door, and he answers the door. He's like, well, I've just been asleep all this time. What? I don't know where my friends are. They're missing. And they were all frozen to death on the back porch. Remember
Yeah.
this case? Yes, or in the
Yes.
backyard. And, kind of slowly it finally rolled out that yes, there were definitely drugs involved. But there's never been any charges. There's always been a question like, did the homeowner know, or was he involved, or what really happened here? So it's just broken that there are finally charges that are coming out. And
Well, good.
yes, and one of the charges is, I'm trying to get to my right. I have 1,000 screens open because we have a lot of cases tonight. So let me get to my
Hmm.
article here. Here we go. Okay, so there's two people that were charged. One is the homeowner, Jordan Willis, and the other is a man named Ivory Carson. The charges are 3 counts of, oh, good Lord. Sorry, you guys. Yeah, 3 counts of manslaughter and 2 charges of drug distribution. So they died of fentanyl and cocaine toxicity.
Oh,
So from the arrest report, it looks like, Jordan obviously played a role. It was his home. He had invited these guys here. There were plates of both fentanyl and cocaine sitting out. And then Ivory Carson
God.
was the dealer that was providing those drugs. And
Oh,
apparently
I'm
was
sorry.
there.
Hi.
Yes, Carson was the one that went home, I believe. Yeah. So anyway, finally there's some arrests in that case. That's something we've been wondering about and waiting for a long time. So
That's amazing.
I
I've been wondering if there was ever going to be a resolution to that at all.
well, in the beginning, the police kind of indicated that there wouldn't be, that they believed this was just an accident and, that there wasn't really any crime committed. But
But I mean, someone provided that fentanyl and cocaine. Holy hell.
people,
That is the
knock it
saddest, most
off, for Christ's sake.
hideous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
street drugs are not safe. Stop
No.
doing this.
Yes.
At any rate, it's so sad. It's for all of the families that were involved in this that have, been
Yeah,
crushed by this.
such a hideous tragedy.
Oh, it is. It's so terrible. But I hope that they can get some closure and some justice here now.
Yeah, yeah, and I imagine that they can, and at least maybe shut down at least one dealer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Miss B is really getting up to some shenanigans behind me. So,
I saw her beating you up there a minute ago.
well, she tried to jump up here, and I didn't know, and I put my hand down and whacked her in the face. I didn't mean to, as she was jumping up here, so she's kind of mad at me now. Oh, Joelle says every time Baby is on camera, my cat Ellie can't stop watching her.
Oh.
I know a lot of you, we've seen a lot of really fun videos that you all have shared with us on social media about your cats watching when Sandy's on the show. And now we have Miss Beebe on the show as well.
Over on Discord, yeah.
Yeah.
She's just dripping with attitude.
Oh, she is. Oh, my goodness. We have parades in the hall because she does this marching down the hall with her tail swishing like this. So I get in behind her and I'm marching behind her because we're in a parade. It's pretty funny. Well, to no one's surprise, Judge Hippler in the Brian Kohberger matter, this is the Idaho 4 Moscow murders, the quadruple murder case in northern Idaho. Judge Hippler, well, he's quite had it. And we knew he'd quite had it with the defense and their shenanigans already just a couple of weeks ago, but he's back. And the judge has started warning attorneys to stop filing so many sealed documents in this murder case. Because as we know, this case is gagged, and the defense is constantly filing things that are sealed that don't really need to be sealed. And he's talking not only to the defense, but also to the prosecutors. He says that the defense attorneys and prosecutors have made secrecy the norm rather than an exception. He said this runs counter to the public's First Amendment rights to know what is going on in its courts. Thank you, Judge Hippler. He ordered attorneys to use the least restrictive steps necessary to protect confidential information in the case, such as redacting some lines or using initials instead of an individual's full name. You mean like Judge not Boyce, every single...
Are you listening?
Yes, yeah. Right? I was just thinking about that because Boyce was real bad for allowing this, and I'm pleased that Hippler is recognizing that this is bullshit.
And a constitutional violation. Come on.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. So there have been a bunch of new things filed, because of course there have. The trial is coming up in August, including a sealed defense motion to take the death penalty off the table that cited autism spectrum disorder, which, let's be clear, that's no longer a diagnosis. Also, that is not a reason to take the death penalty off the table.
No.
Generally, a developmental disability with an IQ below 70 is the reason to take the death penalty off the table. There is no way that Brian Kohberger, who was in a doctoral program at the time that these murders were committed, will qualify for that. At this point,
does not have a IQ below 70. I mean, come on.
No, and there is some real there's some real shenanigans going on here. This is getting pretty desperate on the part of Ann Taylor, honestly.
I think it says a lot.
At this point, I do not know why they do not take a plea. If they want to get the death penalty off the table, I would imagine that is the only way. And that is even if it is even offered. And we don't know.
Right, yeah.
Right. And we don't even know if a plea to all charges, guilty on all charges without the death penalty, we don't even know if that's on the table. It's possible.
Oh, they'd take it. I think they'd take it in a heartbeat.
Well, what I mean is, you think the state, but the state has to offer it, and we don't know if they have.
I know, but I think if Taylor reached out to the state and said, hey, we're prepared to plead guilty if you'll take the death penalty off the table, why wouldn't they? It'd save them a fortune.
I mean, there will be some real mad legislators in the state of Idaho if that happens. because they are the, I don't know, terrifying human beings who decided to make sure we get the firing squad back in place as now our primary means of execution, specifically for Brian Kohberger, who has not even been convicted of a crime yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, right, Melissa? Melissa says that's infuriating because there are people who are severely mentally handicapped and they've been totally screwed by the justice system and they're wanting special treatment for him. Gross. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there have been people executed who, in fact, did qualify as being developmentally disabled and they were still executed. So, yeah, it's gross. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Irene says, I don't know. I don't think Crotch Man would take a plea. I know. I've wondered. You mean this guy right here? This guy?
That one. Mm-hmm.
Or this guy right here? Or
Probably
possibly this guy right here?
1,000% this one. Yes, that guy right there. Yeah.
If you don't know why we were putting up pictures of Brian Kohberger's crotch, it's because early in this case, one of the things that Ann Taylor threw out there was that they wanted to stop getting photos taken of Brian Kohberger because everyone was just focusing on his crotch, which was the dumbest thing anyone has ever said in the history of defense attorneys. Mm-hmm. So Katie, very nicely, actually made some pictures where we were focusing on Brian Kohberger's crotch.
I scoured the internet far and wide and managed to do some very tight close-ups and zoom-ins. Yeah.
Little Photoshop, and look what happened.
Little Photoshop, yeah. Tiny bit.
Oh my gosh.
Itty bitty, teeny weeny bit.
Salawalaway said, I guess he isn't blaming autism, but it's being used as a reason for many frustrating things, right? Oh, also as an autistic lady, I'm tired of these people blaming autism for their bad behavior, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That does not qualify, and stop doing that to people who have real disabilities. That is gross.
Absolutely.
Also, one of the sealed motions also includes one that is a discussion about whether or not the terms psychopath or sociopath, which, just so you know, he's a psychopath and we don't really use sociopath anymore. All sociopaths are psychopaths, so it's just psychopath, can be used during the trial. And I think that's hilarious. And then some other things about the presence of family members in the courtroom and some stuff like that. Some of the currently sealed documents will be redacted and made public, and others will remain sealed, the judge ruled. But Hitler has had enough of all of this drama and all of this treating little Brian Kohberger as though he is very special, because he's not. And this trial is going forward with the death penalty attached. I mean, it just is. She has tried repeatedly to get it off. It's just not going to happen.
There would have to be a huge misstep on the part of the state at this point.
Yeah. And there would have to be a huge remedy that had to be made for some error or something, as we know from the Chad Daybell case. Yep. But at this point, there is nothing in Idaho law that says that they cannot go forward with the death penalty in this case. It's just, it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of great because Judge Hippler has, he's been eating Ann Taylor's lunch for a while now, really. Mm-hmm. He's really kind of had enough of her. And she's not very good at taking a hint.
Right. And
how many volumes of DSMs are there now? 5. We're on DSM 5. Yeah. And sociopath isn't a thing anymore. It's just all psychopath. And he definitely is one. There's really no question about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if he was diagnosed, and we don't know that Brian Kohberger has ever even been diagnosed with autism.
Right. This is new information. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if he has, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't. There's no bearing on this case with it. It just isn't.
Right. And also, she can get an expert that will get on the stand and say he has autism. Of course she can.
Right.
That's not that hard. You can pay an expert witness. You can find one that will say the thing you want them to say. Right. She'll have that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But if he's never been diagnosed with it.
Right. And here we
Anybody
have, and
has.
this is what Judge Hippler is really annoyed with Ann Taylor, is that she is continually trying to try the case before trying the case. These
Hmm.
are all things that will come up in trial,
Hmm.
and that there will be determinations made about their appropriateness at the time of trial.
Yeah.
She can bring her experts in. They can be, they can be cross-examined by the prosecution. They can determine at that time if something is going to be admissible or not. And it's moot right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Anne is she is tenacious as hell, and she puts an enormous effort. Public defenders frequently do not, and
Yeah.
give their
She
clients
is
the bare minimum. She
dogged.
is absolutely, and I'll give her huge props for that. She is giving her client absolutely everything. So good on
She
Anne for
is.
that. But yeah, she's definitely jumping on the judge's last nerve.
Right. And by the way, GS, I know being diagnosed as a psychopath is not a reason for him to get off.
Oh
We
yeah,
do
no.
not have an insanity plea in Idaho, and psychopathy is not a reason to excuse a murder. It might be a reason to help explain it.
Hmm.
But
Right.
in
Joelle said
Idaho,
she'd hire
we don't
Anne.
have it
Me
anyway.
too. I'd hire Anne in a
Right.
heartbeat.
I know.
Yeah.
She's done a great job. She really
Hmm.
has. But I think Hitler has had about all he's going to take of this at this
Of
point.
the filings, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point,
Let's see.
Natasha. Could bringing autism in like that try to could that offend a jury? It could, yes.
It certainly could. Yeah. It certainly could. It could really backfire on them. And
Hmm.
maybe this is her way of feeling that out, you
Hmm.
know. I'm sure there's a lot of strategy behind a lot of the decisions that are made by a defense attorney and about when to present something,
Yeah.
for sure. And with that, Katie, speaking of rather insufferable humans, what's going on with Donna Adelson?
All right. Well, crying Donna. We showed you a video last week of her testifying in a bail hearing. There were two things they were arguing about. She wants bail because she said that she's been injured at the jail and extorted into providing snacks for other women. And
That's what I heard.
that, one of them did touch her back while she was in the shower, and another wrenched her arm behind her to tell her she was going to be providing her with snacks. And also, they were arguing about that jail phone call with Charlie right after Charlie was convicted. And she spoke to him on the phone and let him know. Well, she didn't. She supposedly thought she hung up, but started speaking to someone else about fleeing the country to a non extraditable, well, country.
Mm-hmm.
And her attorneys thought that that was a violation of her rights, that that should be thrown out because she, at the time, didn't know that she was being recorded. Um, the judge said, no, sucks to suck. Sorry you're dumb, but this is the
Right.
that she was on a recorded line and she knew she was on a recorded line with Charlie, and if she didn't hang up appropriately, that's her problem.
Yeah.
On bond, he also said no, no, no. In fact,
Gee, I wonder why.
I'll tell you
Boy.
exactly what he said. He said, one day after Charles Adelson was convicted of first degree murder and other crimes, the defendant discussed fleeing to countries without extradition to the United States. That same day, defendant communicated with Vietnam Visa Indochina Sun Travel through what she believed was a secure communication application, WhatsApp, trying to acquire a fast, he said cast, but I believe this means fast, track emergency visa for Vietnam and wanted it the fastest she can get it. The judge said absolutely she was fleeing the country. Absolutely she
Yes,
was.
of
And
course.
for that reason, she definitely is not a candidate for bond. So she is staying put. Now, he did say that he would make sure that the jail is doing all they can for her as far as medical care is concerned and to keep her comfortable because she's very, very unhappy and she's struggling. She's got some injuries and a bad sciatica problem going on and a bad mattress. And I mean, it's jail, Donna. It's not the Four Seasons. That's unfortunately sucks to
Yeah.
suck with the things that you have done. You know who
You
else is
have been the
uncomfortable?
Karen of jail in
Yeah.
Florida.
It wasn't comfortable for Dan Markle to be shot to death either, but I
It certainly
digress.
was not. Although I don't know. I guess she and Sarah Boone are both in Florida. So is she the Karen of jail, or is Sarah the Karen of jail? Or could we imagine a Karen of jail cage match between Donna Adelson and Sarah Boone?
I like it. I like it. Well,
One
maybe
of these
they'll end
days
up
I'm
in
going
the
to
same
figure out
prison.
how to make cartoons for that
Yeah.
very reason.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they'll end up in prison together. That's my greatest hope. But yes,
Oh
I
my
think a cage
gosh.
match is a great idea.
If only.
Yeah.
Winner
Yeah,
gets
winner
all the
gets all the peppermints
peppermints,
and the
right? And the
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts.
Hmm.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. Well, is that everything in good old
That's
Donna?
everything. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is a little bit of good news in the murder of Preston Lord. If you remember,
Yes.
Preston Lord was murdered. This is in Gilbert, Arizona, same place as where Lori Vallow used to live. This place is not okay. Let's just be clear about that. If you recall, Preston Lord was beat to death by a group of young men known as the Gilbert Goons. And these were some young men that like to beat up people, and they killed Preston Lord. This happened back in 2023. So William Owen Hines, who is 19, has now pleaded guilty to manslaughter and agreed to spend the next 10 and a half to 21 years in state prison as part of a deal with the prosecutors. Now, what are there, 7 or 8 kids charged in this? Like, this was a big group of people who kicked this kid to death.
Hmm.
It was at a Halloween party in Queen Creek, Arizona, in 2023.
Yeah. This was a horrible, horrible
He
situation.
is the first to turn. So they had all pled not guilty. He has now turned, and I would imagine that probably means he is willing to testify against his co-defendants.
That's probably a part of the plea. I would imagine he has no choice but to do that.
I would imagine that that's what they want, is somebody to turn. Apparently inside a hushed courtroom with members of his family looking on, Hines lowered his head to read a statement he had written ahead of time. His voice was low and clear and without hesitation or emotion. He said, "These events have horrified me since the moment I saw the news. And during the holiday season, I couldn't help but feel for the family, especially his mother," Hines said. "The thought of how my mom would feel terrifies me, and that is why I'll do absolutely anything to make sure I can prevent this from happening again." Has very much separated himself from it, however, when he heard the news. Pretty sure he knew the news, buddy.
Yeah. You were part of the news, so...
He said he was in the throes of multiple addictions, drug, alcohol, and hallucinogens. Sorry, not an excuse. When he and other members of the Gilbert Goons attacked Lord. He also pleaded guilty for his role in 2 other non-fatal Goons attacks in 2022 and for hitting another car and injuring someone while driving under the influence in 2023. This kid
The
is a
adults that
disaster.
empowered these kids need to be held just as accountable. This is
They really do,
absolutely
because they have
ridiculous.
been protected by their parents in a way that is horrifying to me.
Yeah.
As the mother of a boy, and you are also the mother of a boy,
Hmm.
can you imagine protecting your teenage son after
No.
he was involved in the murder of another kid?
Yeah.
I mean, what a terrible thing to do to your kid,
Well,
frankly.
and they'd already protected these kids through, again, multiple other
Yes.
attacks, vandalisms,
Yeah.
other situations, until, of course, it escalated to murder. Why wouldn't it?
Right, because they were getting away with this stuff. Prosecutors did say that they dropped a kidnapping charge against Hines that was part of Preston Lord's death because they wouldn't let him leave.
Right.
The plea deal does not require him to testify against other people accused of attacking Lord, however.
Oh.
Lawyers for the family confirmed after court there was no agreement requiring him to cooperate with prosecutors. He may have privately, though. There are a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah.
His family is satisfied with this. They feel like it's a step in the right direction.
I would imagine
I
they're not
think
such
y'all
tough
need to.
guys in jail.
Right. I bet they are not. I really hope that you, as parents, realize how much you facilitated this happening.
Yep.
His mother did a lot of crying and saying how hard this has been for them, and I really don't care. Because if you'd been holding your child accountable prior to this event, it would not have happened.
And bitch, your kid's still alive.
Yeah,
You say
yeah.
that to the Lord's
You
kid's
still have
mother.
your son.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we shall see what happens, because there are many other young men charged in this case. And
Hmm.
so far, they are all pleading not guilty, although seeing this may change things a bit.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, I would imagine they're scared little boys right now. They're not the tough
Well,
men
they
they
are,
thought they
because
were.
that's who they really
Kicking a
are.
kid to death. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So gross. Katie, why don't you tell us what's going on with nobody's friend, Corey Richins?
Okay,
Excuse me.
so yeah. Let me get my article up. So they're still fighting over the walk the dog letter.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so some backstory. This is Corey Richins, of course, out of Utah, who is the woman who's accused of poisoning her husband. A year after his death, she released this children's book about she and her little boys. Well, it was a children's book about grief. Kind of mirroring her and her little children's journey through grief after her husband died, and she went on like the Today Show and was really making a
Yeah.
splash. And then like 5 seconds later, the cops were like, "Oh, well, we're charging you with murder. So
Yeah.
let's get you off of the media trail." And it's been awful from the start. But if you remember last spring, she got in trouble, and so they tossed her cell. And in the course of tossing her cell, they found this letter that was to her mother. It's called the Walk the Dog letter because she was telling her mother not to forget to walk the dog. There was some code in there, it seemed like. She also told her mother a few things that her attorney had said to her. Her attorney at the time was Sky,
Well,
who
and
then
walk the dog
left.
means to manipulate someone else into doing your bidding. That's a phrase
And
that means that.
yeah, well, and she was asking her mother to do some intimidation of some of the witnesses, to post some inflammatory things about them on social media, and things like that. So also she was asking her mother to ask her attorney, Sky Hackman. Hackman? It's not Hackman. Sky something.
Yeah.
To have her bring Crest white strips to her and smuggle them into the jail to her because her teeth were getting yellow from drinking all that coffee. Anyway, so that letter got put on the record, and so it was made public like really fast. And her attorney at the time didn't argue about that record or that letter at all until the day that she pulled herself from the case. And that was about 3 months after. And at that time, she said that letter should be precluded because that was attorney-client privilege. Well, that's interesting because the first argument about that letter being precluded was that not that it should be precluded, but that this was actually just a book that Corey was working on. This wasn't a letter to anybody. It was just a book she was working on. She's an author, guys, and she was working on her book. And you just stole some of her book and put it on the record. That was what they claimed initially, right? Then Sky came back and said, no, actually, that should not be on the record because it's attorney client privilege. So that now is what her current attorneys are still going with, is that letter is attorney client privilege and it shouldn't be allowed.
But how is it attorney-client privilege if there's a third party involved, which was her mother, and that's who it was to?
Oh, Sky
Doesn't that
Lazaro,
break the
sorry.
privilege?
Right, it was to her mother. They're saying it was privileged because she had said some things in the letter that her attorney had said to her.
Yeah,
But
but she
it's
broke
third
the
party.
privilege by saying them to a third party. So that is
Right.
not attorney-client privilege.
Yeah. So things got a little ugly in court because the state's kind of over this. So her attorney, Wendy Lewis, said something went off the rails here. And instead, this document was read improperly by Sergeant Thomas based on that first paragraph, and then it was immediately disclosed publicly as part of a pleading. The state said...
We've all read it.
The state said the defendant could have testified as well, and that, of course, would have subjected the defendant. She could have testified to this very narrow issue and would have been subjected to cross-examination on credibility. To which the judge said, when the defendant writes a letter that appears to be going to her mother but never did, Sky says X, Y, and Z, why do I have any basis to think that she's not going to be truthful with her mother about what Sky said? Okay. Judge is saying, well, if she was telling her mother the truth about things her attorney said, why shouldn't I be concerned about that? Here's what the prosecutor said. Because of all of the untruthfulness through her entire history of being detained.
She's a big fat liar, and we all know it.
A big damn liar, Judge. So the state didn't like, or the defense didn't like that answer at all.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
That created a bit of an uproar.
And yet so true.
The judge said, let's pause for a second. She's presumed innocent of all of that, so I've got to stay in the face of the document. So the judge said he'll rule on that shortly. I don't know if they'll allow that in or not. I don't think it matters at all. It doesn't have anything
really
to do with whether she killed her husband or not.
No.
At all. So
it just shows what a manipulative little shithead she is. But I mean, that's not like, there isn't like, mountains of evidence of that already.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, but anyway, that cracked me up. Why should I think what she was writing to her mother about what her attorney said was anything but the truth? Because she lies, Judge. That's why. Because
all the time to everyone. She lied in the letter, and she asked her mom, to have her attorney lie. Yeah. Like, it's right there.
It's right there.
Sneak me some Crest White strips in with some papers. Yeah, that's asking for dishonest behavior to begin with, right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was only 3 more months, and Sky Lazaro was like, "I got a piece out of this one." Yeah,
I'm surprised she lasted 3 months after that. Honestly, if I'd have read that, I'd been like, "Well, I gotta go.
You're gonna get me disbarred. See ya." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Definitely. Okay. Little updates in the Gene Hackman, Betsy Arakawa deaths. Only because this is so weird. Okay. So they've not found anything significant in the house as far as like there was no carbon monoxide leak, no gas leaks. They found one tiny little gas leak in a burner, but said it was so small it wouldn't have done anything. But just to update, since the last time we talked about this last week, is that they were found on the 27th of February. Gene Hackman's pacemaker stopped working on the 17th of February. So he was dead for 10 days. Betsy Arakawa's body was partially mummified. Like, they were significantly in decomposition at the time that this occurred. They're definitely considering this to be much more of a suspicious death. Mm-hmm. At first, they were like, it's probably accidental. We're not so sure this is suspicious. Now they're like, oh, no, this is very suspicious. Something is not right here.
Yeah.
So, also, they've said that the dog that passed away was in a kennel in the closet in the room where Betsy died, but they've said all along that the dog was a German Shepherd. Well, no, the dog was actually a Kelpie cross, not a German Shepherd. They had 2 German Shepherds, and they were able to come and go from the house because there was a door that was open, and so they survived. But the dog in the kennel passed away.
Well, I can see why the dog in the kennel passed away. It was 10 days.
He'd been dead for 10 days.
That's horrifying. Yeah.
So, toxicology is going to answer a lot, maybe, but that takes a long time. The house was open. There were an open door and an unlocked door. Like, there was no intention on their parts to like lock up their house at all. Like, no, this is still very suspicious. It's really sad. And so we don't cover a lot of celebrity cases, but oh my gosh, this one is just so strange and scary. So we're going to keep an eye on it just because we can. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
For sure.
Miss B is really putting on a show for us tonight.
Look at
Uh,
this. She's posing in everything.
she is. With that, Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Dustin Kjersem murder?
Yes. Okay, so you guys, you may remember we brought to you this case last fall. This came out of Montana, just outside of Yellowstone Park on the Montana side. There was
Yes.
a man named Dustin Kjersem who had been camping, and his girlfriend was supposed to meet him. And what she discovered was that he was deceased in his tent. And initially,
Yeah.
they thought he was maybe had been attacked by a bear. That's grizzly
Yeah.
country, so they thought maybe he'd have been attacked by a grizzly. And then, as it turned out, no, he had been killed with an axe, and it immediately went from a wild animal attack to a homicide. Well, when we covered that case, I don't think we ever learned that there was actually an arrest, and so there's an arrest, and
Hmm.
it's kind of fascinating. So, and it's good news because, hello, murderer. So there's a man that's been arrested. His name is Darren Abbey. So Darren Abbey had been uh, in the area of Bozeman at a lodge there, as well as at a brewery there, where it's a tasting room called the Rocks. And he had actually made some people there quite uncomfortable, the staff there, because he was saying some really inflammatory white supremacist type things, and told them that he's a white supremacist, and told them
Uh,
that he'd been in prison before, and had just said some things that they were like really icked out about. So they remembered him,
Yikes.
and there's photos of him being there, being in the rocks, because they have surveillance. Well, the other thing that happened is apparently in the tent there were a couple of shot glasses and there were some beer cans. And so the police took those shot glasses and beer cans and they did a DNA profile. And what they found from the DNA profile was a bit confusing, because who they found, sorry, my picture didn't upload correctly, give me 1 second,
Oh,
was this guy right here, Dustin Abbey.
okay.
Here's the problem: Dustin Abbey's in prison.
What?
So it couldn't be Dustin Abbey, but it could be his identical twin.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
It really happened. The thing you always see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Holy hell.
So the DNA matches Darren and or Dustin Abbey, and there's photos, of course, in Bozeman, not very far from where this happened, at the Rock and another the lodge there. Uh, yeah, of Darren.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
Yikes.
isn't that something?
You mean both twins are evil? Isn't an evil twin? There are two evil twins?
Right?
I've
Apparently,
been watching
Darren
a
had
lot of Murder She
already
Wrote,
been
so.
arrested on completely unrelated charges. So
Oh,
Darren was
wow.
already close at hand.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a connection between him and Dustin?
I don't think so. He told the police that he killed him out of self-defense. However,
What?
he also robbed him blind. And
Right.
the two weapons that he stabbed him and killed him with, he stabbed him with a knife. He also, unfortunately, attacked him with an axe. And then he told the police he rinsed
God.
both of those items off in the creek that was nearby. But he stole some guns and some other things from the victim and stole some items from his pickup as well. So here's the problem, Darren. Usually, if people are in an incident where force is used and it is truly self defense, they contact the authorities. They don't steal from the victim and load up their belongings and stuff your truck full of them and sail off into
No.
the sunset and hope that the police never find out. Now, he's been in prison before, so he probably has a real distrust of the law. But still,
Right.
nothing about this murder speaks of self-defense at all.
I
At
mean,
all.
you had to hack him up so bad they thought he'd been attacked by a bear in
Yeah.
self-defense.
hmm
My
He
ass.
says he was also
Gross.
camping in the area, and he had said to the people at the Rock that he was camping in the area. So he says he was camping and he came across the victim and just stopped and started chatting with him. And they ended up sitting down and having a beer together and chatting for a while. And then something happened that he just felt he needed to defend himself and he, murdered the hell out of him. So, yeah, I don't think that story is going to go very far with the jury. But
Sure is
that's what's
not.
happening with this case now.
What is he charged with? Is it first-degree murder?
All I'm a deliberate homicide charge and 2 counts of tampering with evidence.
Deliberate homicide? Okay.
hmm
So that's
The trial
murder,
is
but I don't know if
supposed to
that's first
start
degree.
on November 3rd.
Wow,
Toward the end
that's
of this
quick.
year. hmm
That
Yeah,
is
we'll
very
see.
quick.
It wouldn't surprise me terribly if it doesn't happen that fast. But anyway, that's what we've got.
Yeah. Wow. That
Yep.
is crazy. It's so sad. That poor man and his whole family, they're so
Oh, his
devastated by
poor
his
family.
loss.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
very, very sad. Yep.
Well, let's wrap it up with one more really unfortunate update. We talked to you last week about the prison guards striking in New York.
Yeah.
Some of these more southern prisons have reached a deal and are back at work. The guards in the more northern prisons in the state of New York have been refusing to go back to work. And it's now been determined that 7 prisoners have died
Yeah.
because of this. And we had talked about a couple of them. Well, actually, just one last week, but now they've determined that, and this may not even be the full number.
That probably won't
Be,
come for a while, but yeah.
yeah, but for sure, 7 have died. Some people weren't getting fed. Some people weren't getting medical care. One man hung himself in his cell. These people were not being cared for and they are locked up. There is nothing that they can do. They are completely dependent on this system.
Yeah. That failed them. Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's terrifying. So now they're trying to get some of these prison guards back to work. They've been ordered back to work. Some of them have continued to strike in spite of that. And seriously, I mean, this is so dangerous to human life at this point. It's just wrong and scary. And I recognize that the situation for the guards has not been good. It hasn't. It has also been very bad for the prisoners. So I don't have the answer, but what I want you to know now is that the death toll is to 7 people have died because of it.
Yeah.
Right. They don't get paid enough. They were all working mandatory overtime, working like 24-hour shifts. There were a lot of things that were not okay.
Yeah.
But leaving and walking out on people who are 100% dependent on you for all of their needs is really irresponsible and scary too.
It is.
So
it is.
it's a terrible
There's no
situation.
good answer here, but
yeah,
very sad and scary, terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So we'll continue to report on that. I know that there's way more to the story than that. But I did want to just let you know, because we had talked last week about, oh my gosh, how many prisoners will die before this is over. And it's not good news.
Yeah, not at all.
Well, that is everything that we have for you for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow for our usual Thursday, 3 p.m. Mountain live stream. We appreciate you all so very much for being here. Please take the time to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, leave a review. All of those things help us to grow. You can always tip us through YouTube. The super chat is on. You can also go to our website, which is truecrimesquad.com. There are ways there to tip us and other ways to connect with us as well. So check all of that out, and we will be back tomorrow. And you know what? We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.
Season 6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.